Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to give you an update on growing Rudbeckia from bare roots and from seeds. I'm also going to do an update on the Echinacea that I grew from bare root. So let's get straight into it. If you remember, I was pretty skeptical of both the Echinacea and the Rudbeckia when I was planting them last year.
What in tarnation is this? Just look at it. Already I have doubts about this. But you know what? I'm going to stick with it. So I'm going to leave it in the water to soak and see how it goes.
Well, this is a really short video. This will come as absolutely no surprise to you that those plants did not make it, and that's why you hadn't seen any updates on them at all on the channel. But what I will say is, just because those plants didn't make it doesn't mean that the Rudbeckia and the Echinacea didn't do well in pots. What ended up happening is I acquired some when I went to the RHS shows, and I did a little bit of a shopping haul, and they looked absolutely beautiful in the garden and they did a great job. Now, this year I've learned from my mistakes, so I wanted to share with you some of my mistakes that I made last year and what I've done differently this year, so hopefully this video will be super useful to you guys. I had the exact same Rudbeckia as I did last year, but let me show you how I picked my packet this year. In Poundland right now, but let's take a look at some of these bare root plants. This is where my skills of being nosy were super helpful. I looked through all of the packets, and any that had some form of growth were the ones that I would pick. Just like all of these. This will help give you a better start. If we look at the back and we take a closer look, you'll see all of this new growth here. Now, if you remember, the one that I used last year was so dry and crusty. Absolutely no wonder why the plants didn't actually work. This year I'm starting off with some bare root plants that I know are alive because I can see the green growth. So this year what I did with all of the plants that I picked up that were bare root from the store is I checked them all to see that there was some form of new growth. Now don't get me wrong, even if there is no new growth in there, in theory, if you follow the same steps that I showed you in the Echinacea video and in the Rudbeckia video, the plants will come to life, or should come to life. But this is just that extra guarantee that the plants will be okay. Okay, so let's just open this packet and see what we're working with. Okay. So we've lost some shoots, but this is all one plant. So if we compare this to what we had last year, we can see that this one is definitely more sustainable. I mean, there's a little bit of rot there. Now, for some reason, there is a little bit of moisture in there. So I'm not going to soak this plant. I'm going to make sure that I pot it up into here and then give it a good deep watering. But yeah, as you can see, there's a hell of a lot more growth than that dry version that we had last year. So let me get this planted. I started off by taking off any of the rotting shoots and then filled this pot with some compost. Then I made a hole that was big enough to fit in the taproot and the entire root system. I skipped the soaking process for this because there seemed to be enough moisture in the bag, enough to make the plants rot already. So I thought it's better to skip that and plant it directly. Here's the Rudbeckia all potted up. I'm gonna take it outside, give it a good deep thorough watering, and because we are going through a spot of good weather, I'm actually gonna keep this outside. Let me show you some that I've grown from seed. Now these are about 2 months old, and this whole tray was absolutely full of them. They are just so finicky and they're so tiny and take such a long time to grow, and most of them haven't made it, so I've just got these 2 little stragglers. So I'm going to leave them in there for a little bit longer, and then I think what I'm going to do is probably pot these up in about a week or so. Let's take a look at the Echinacea and we'll see what the score is with those as well. So in here I've got a mixed bag. Now I'm not going to know what colour the flowers are until the plants are bigger, but as you can see, they look to be in good condition. So let's open these up. Right, let's have a look and see if I can do this with one hand. Oh wow. Okay, well, let me separate them. So we've got the first one, and it's looking pretty decent. The roots on it are great, but some of the shoots have rotted off. So I'm going to chop away some of the rotted shoots. Then we've got the second one, is doing a lot better. Let's see if I can get this in focus. There's not too much rot going on, so I'm going to pot this one up. That'll be fine. And then we get to the third one. Because it was so tangled and wrapped up, it's growing any old way that it wants to. It's a complete hot mess. And of course, naturally, because this one's a hot mess, this is the one that I love the most. So I mean, this plant, like, what am I going to do with you, girl? Now, down here in this container, I really want a perennial container, one that I don't have to worry about every year. I just have my perennials in here. So I'm going to add in some of the Echinacea in here, just so that I get a full burst of colour when I walk out onto the balcony. The bright colours should help to attract some more pollinators into the garden. I've taken off anything that was rotting on this one, and I'm just going to place it into that hole, backfill it, and I'll come back to you. I've got that big one potted in just there. Just going to backfill it, and then I'll end up watering it down. So I'm going to just do what I need to do, and I'll come back and show you once it's all done. Once they were all in place, I gave them a deep water. I used water from the fish pond. Okay, so it's the next day. Let me take you out and let's have a look and see how the plants have adjusted. So here's the big boy one. You can see the plant is super happy, and the leaves are beginning to turn and face towards the sun. The second one, the one that had a little bit of rot, is not doing very well at all. But I'm not counting it out. We'll come back to that and see how that goes. And then the third one is doing absolutely fine, and once again this one is turning itself around to face the sun as well. And after a bit of watering, this Rudbeckia is doing just fine as well. I'm going to leave this one in a sunny spot, because I think once it gets a bit of sun, it's going to start to become a little bit more upright. What I'm going to do is I'll make sure this year to keep you guys updated on both the Rudbeckia and the Echinacea. I'll try posting more pics in my community tab as well as over on Instagram. Anyway, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I will see you again soon. Bye!